Hi everyone. So today I want to talk about how you get started in spirituality. It's a question that I've got many times over the years, and so I'd like to share with you just a few things about that. Now, to give you some insight, I'm going to share a little bit about my journey and why it relates to you. So my journey started when I was about 4 or 5 years old, and I had a vision which at the time I didn't understand. And I won't go into that vision now. Needless to say, it's quite a bit of a mind-bending thing. I told my mother at the time, and she decided to give me 2 aspirin and send me to bed. Now that did 2 things for me. One, I realised at that age that something had happened and that my mother had misinterpreted, and so her way to deal with it was to, there's clearly something not right here and whatever. The other thing it did was it made me realise I can't share what I'm experiencing. Now, one of the beautiful things about that is that I never shared stuff with other people until I was well into my teenage years. And by then, I was past that point where I could be ridiculed or shut down. Now, I discovered many things. Certainly through primary school, I found that I was part of every group, but not part of every group. So I could talk to anyone around and they felt okay to talk to me and what have you, and share stuff with me, but I was never part of any clique. The same happened in high school, and it was all, when I look back on it now, it was all part of my energy that made people feel at ease and made people feel like they could reach out to me. And that's been my entire life from my earliest memories. And then I realised in my teenage years that I could put thoughts into other people's heads, and that I could sometimes pick up what they were thinking. And that was a really interesting experience too. And then I went on to discover that I could heal people, and that I could give things, I could make people feel better. It's probably the simplest way to put it. And it was through that journey that I discovered so many different things about my own spiritual growth and my own abilities. And back then, I felt it was important to have labels on those abilities. Now that I look back, I realise that having labels is a limitation. And I would encourage you to just go, I'm on a spiritual path, and that's all that matters. And you'll discover and learn and grow as you go along. Okay, now, how does that relate to everyone else and to you particularly? Well, your journey is very much for you, and you'll find in this journey that there will be people that will tell you you're wrong. There'll be people that will tell you all sorts of things, and you'll know instinctively that what they're saying to you isn't correct, but you may not have the words or the courage or something else to counteract that with them. And what I would say to you is share it with people who are like-minded. There is lots of like-minded people out there, and you will come across them, I promise you. You become like a magnet, and you will attract like-minded people. But it all comes back to, so how do I start is the question I get. Where do I go? What do I do? The first part of that journey is actually making the decision that you want to go forward and that you want to learn. Now, I would encourage you to search online. I would encourage you to go to your local bookshop, and there's any number of resources online to find, but look for stuff that you don't have to pay for. There's plenty of free resources out there, and I would encourage you not to spend any money in the beginning, because like all things in life, there are some people who may take you down a path that's not right for you, and you've paid the money to do that. So it's better to build a base of information first and become aware of the areas that interest you and feel right for you to go down. Now, so a lot of questions I get is, well, what books should I read? Well, from my own experience, I've come across lots of books, and I couldn't possibly list them all here now. There's, let me think, Richard Bach wrote a few books on spirituality. Jonathan Livingston Seagull, Illusions, the Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. Another one of his is Bridge Across Forever. What else would there be? There's a brilliant book called Mr. God, This Is Anna. And it was actually written about a small child during the Second World War and her interactions with a man called Finn. And Anna died. I'm not giving away the ending of the book. This is about someone who was clearly very advanced. For example, one question she asked Finn in this book: the River Thames, is it the water or the hole it flows in? Now think about that for a minute. What would your answer be? So these are all books that are readily available, and there's any number of books out there right now which you can get hold of and read. And I promise you, you'll be led to the right books, and those books will be a huge benefit to you. Now, what usually triggers this learning is you suddenly realizing that there's more to life. And when you realize there's more to life, you'll go, well, hang on a minute, what is more to life? There'll be some trigger in your life, some event that makes you look at your life and go, hang on a minute, there's got to be more than this. This doesn't make sense to me. And it's often accompanied with a sense of something being missing in your life. And I'll go into that missing part in another video. And I won't go into that now because that's a whole video by itself. So what I would encourage you to do is to look inside yourself and realize that you don't actually know who you are. And that's a common thing. So part of this journey is a self-discovery, and that self-discovery is very eye-opening for you. And I would encourage you to get started on that journey. And there's a number of ways you can do that. And again, that's something that I'll cover in another video. Talking to people. Now, in your current circle, you'll find there's probably one or two people that are on a similar journey to you. And you can discover that simply by bringing it up as a side subject and just seeing who reacts, and by the way they react, and you might find there's some kindred spirits there. I would also encourage you to look online in Facebook groups, and you'll find lots of people in there. So that's a good resource to start with. And there's certainly, you'll be able to connect with people who are watching this video as well. And hopefully through all of this, you can start to build people who have a thirst to know, like yourself. Now, something I get told a lot in the beginning is people are like scared of learning about this stuff. And what they're frightened of is the unknown. And I can promise you there's nothing unknown about this. It just seems that way in the beginning. And I promise you there's nothing scary in there. And by discovering the things that matter to you and learning about the stuff that matters to you, you'll soon realize that it's okay. And the same with abilities. Once you start to get into them, you'll learn that those abilities are an enhancement to your life and will help you in so many ways that I can't list them all. The other thing that will happen is that time to time you'll feel like you're not progressing, and that happens to everyone. And it's simply because you feel like there's no growth happening. And it feels like you've been coasting or plateauing for a long time. That's because there's all sorts of other things coming around you and energies and everything else. And from your perspective, you feel stagnant, but I promise you, you are progressing. It's just, it's happening at a pace that makes it very hard for you to detect. And then a few things will happen and you'll go, oh my God, like, there was so much happening and wow. And so it will comes in fits and starts, but it is generally fairly steady in its growth. The other thing that you'll notice is you'll start to see people around you with a different perspective, because you're starting to grow and those people are not. And so you'll look at them through different eyes, and that's normal too. And what you'll find is that some of those people you'll drift away from, and some of the other people in your circle you'll drift towards. And that's normal as well, because you're raising your vibration and suddenly you're not seeing people the same way. So there is an attraction, and there is the opposite of attraction. So you drift away from those people. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with those people. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Quite the contrary, you're both okay. You're just looking at life differently. Now, what I have also seen and will absolutely happen to you is that you'll drift away from those people and you'll run into them again in 12 months, 18 months, 2 years' time, and you'll realize just how much you've grown in that time. And it often happens at a time when you're feeling stagnant. The world gives you, or the universe gives you, this insight into your growth and how far you've actually come since that point. And that's a huge, huge wake up for you. Okay. One thing that is really important for you to understand is that as you grow, so you will start to realize how long this has been part of your life. So the more you learn, the more you remember, the more you'll have memories that will come up and go, oh my God, like that's been there all along. I never realized what it was back then. And that's normal. Everyone has those realizations and you won't be any exception. So that's just the beginning stuff now. And I don't want to make this video any longer than it is. So I'll stop there and I'll do other videos very shortly that'll help you to understand and see things. So please like and subscribe and hit that notification button so that you're notified of new videos. Please visit my website, and please consider going to Patreon and visiting my and becoming a patron, because that helps me to make more videos like this. I'll put links to all of those things below, and have an amazing day. Take care.